give you some information as to what we have. And we're trying to do this every day as we get it. Yesterday was an update as to what I learned over the weekend. Today is about showing you what was used that night. Later on this week, we will be showing you some of the video footage that we captured that night. This is all in an effort to be transparent. We have always been that way, and we will continue to be that way. So now I'm going to ask Sergeant Morrell to step forward and give a presentation as to what was used that night, and then afterwards, we will answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, like I said, my name is Sergeant Todd Morrell.
Sergeant, give us a second, please.
Very cool.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Good? Ready? All right. My name is Sergeant Todd Morrell. I've been with the police department since 1991. I've been in special operations since 1996, and currently I'm over the bomb squad and munitions and special projects. So, going back to Wednesday, what we're here for is to show you the different types of munitions that was used on the bridge during that incident. The first thing we deployed was tear gas through hand deployed methods. These are not launched, they are tossed underhand into a specific part of the crowd in order to get the crowd to disperse. We tossed, I believe, 8 of these canisters, not at one time, but over 2 different deployments. A lot of these were picked up and thrown back at the police standing on the line. The NOPD uses what's called number 2 CS tear gas. On a tear gas continuum, there's CS, CN, and DM. All right, we use CS, which is the weakest form of tear gas. The effects dissipate quicker than CN and DM, correction. And this is the tear gas that we choose to use because it has the least impact and the quickest recovery from its use. So that was used. I have some flyers up here that will give you the specifics on it. You guys are welcome to take one if you want to. All right, so this is the underhanded tossed munition. All right, the next thing we used was a launched tear gas. Again, this is CS, and it's designed to release the tear gas that's contained within this sponge when it impacts on the ground. And so we fired a few of these also. I believe the chief could give you the actual numbers on it, or the captain over SOD. Once our equipment was stolen during the first confrontation, shields were stolen, helmets were stolen, radios were stolen. We used this, which is a paint round, to mark the shields and the helmets and the stuff that was stolen. In the event that we have the opportunity to get it back, this paint is permanent, and it'll let us know that this, in fact, was our equipment that was used on, that was taken on the bridge. Once again, this is the foam that the CS is contained in. You guys are free to pick this up, and once again, you can also take the defense technology list. All right, so the other thing that was done was we deployed 2 of the Stinger smokeless powder rubber balls. So the smokeless powder rubber ball is not a rubber bullet. It's a rubber ball. To give you an example, we don't currently have this. I got this from a different parish. This would be a rubber bullet. A rubber bullet is fired from a traditional round, a rifle, a pistol, a shotgun, and it's fired by a specific means. It is just like a regular round. Some rubber bullets are actually metal bullets encased in rubber. We do not use this. We don't have this. And I've been on the police department for almost 30 years. We've never had this. So there's a difference, and facts do matter. So this is what we deployed, which is a rubber ball. All right? The effective range of the rubber ball is from 15 feet to 50 feet. According to the body camera footage, when we deployed it, it was roughly 30 yards, which is significantly further than the suggested range. But what that does is the further out you go, the impact and the velocity of the rubber ball lessens. So at 30 yards, it was maybe getting hit from the backhand of a tennis ball, a backhand stroke from a tennis ball. That's about what it is. This is a very common caliber. It's commonly used by kids that play paintball. It's about the same caliber. It's a 60 caliber paintball round. This hurts significantly less than the paintball, though. I will tell you that. I've been stung by both. Chief, do you want me to do a demonstration now? Okay. So I'm going to give you a demonstration on exactly how this is fired. So this is the launcher that fires the paint marking round, the CS round, and also the round with the 60 caliber stingers.
Yes. I think someone was trying to put a camera out there to capture the caliber. If you want to do that, now's the time to put your cameras out.
Right. Chief, you want me to answer your question? You want me to answer any
We're
questions?
going to ask the question that we can do this.
All right.
They're going to shoot towards that cannon out there. If you want to reposition.
Just as an FYI, I'm going to stand in between the two orange cones. And
I think I can.
Oh, you're gonna be between the orange cones?
Yes.
Is it okay if I move out?
Yes.
Thank you.
Maybe to the side.
Sorry, Mrs. Housekeeping, is it Todd with 2 T's or 1 T? Just so we get that right.
2 Ds. 2 R's, 2 L's, like the clerk. Y'all can take these.
Okay, thank you.
He wouldn't even feel it. If you need to reposition it, you can, anything on this table you can touch.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you need to reposition, reposition.
So, I'm
Yes,
sorry
sir.
I came a little late. So
Yes.
that's the rubber bullet that you were
This
referring to?
is typically what would be referred to as a rubber bullet.
Gotcha. And then you had that caliber that was smaller.
This is a 60. It's roughly a 60. It's like 50 and some change.
Gotcha.
You can do the weight on it.
And so those were fired in these as well?
Yeah, well, this is a marking round. So when our
I
equipment was
see,
stolen,
yeah. Okay.
you just use this to mark the equipment that was stolen. Because later on, if you get somebody with the paint and
So we're going to answer questions after he do this demonstration. We're going to come back and
Gotcha.
answer questions and give paperwork, flyers to everyone. All right, if y'all want to get in position, now is the time. Sergeant Morrell is going to go out there and fire his shot. Stand right here. do a recap, and then we'll transition into Q&A. I'll just stand behind you with this so they don't have to move their mic. Military thing.
Yep.
You good side? Just gonna wait a few minutes, let everyone get together, get set, and we will continue.
You get one of the phone tables, you get the mic table, or? Yeah, we can raise them up probably,
What is it you wanna do?
Maybe raise the mic up a little bit, so we can hear you.
Good. All right.
I'm gonna just attach it to the bag, just go for the bag.
Problemo.
It's.
All right. So as I said from the beginning, this is all about an educational opportunity for our citizens to understand what it is that we're doing and how we're doing things here within the New Orleans Police Department. As you will see over the next few weeks, we would like to use more opportunities such as this to educate our community what their police department has and what we are doing and how we are staying in front of all of the negativity that you may see across the country with regards to the demands for reform. We have been leading reform for the last 7 years, and we will continue to do so. As Sergeant Morrell explained, and I hope that you really reiterate this to our public, this canister is rolled. It is not tossed, it is not launched. It is rolled. This gas that we're using, C2, it is the lowest level of the 3 that he explained. And we use rubber balls, not rubber bullets. It only has a range up to 50 feet. So this is used as a last resort. And as I said last week, there's a confrontation. And there were some individuals, again, some, not all, many of our protesters were peaceful, but you had the agitators in the front. And as I said last week, do not take the bait, and that is exactly what they went out there to push their bait, and they pushed this crowd. And as we release more video, we're gonna educate you more as to what actually transpired. But again, this is last resort. Our first priority is safety for everyone. And it started with a dialogue. And unfortunately, they had those few that chose to escalate it to the next level. So at this time, I take questions. Ken?
Kimberly?
Yes, you had mentioned during the demonstration that some of your equipment was stolen
Yes.
during this clash. If you could kind of go into that.
You would be able to see it more on the footage, but yes, apparently during this clash, some of our shields and helmets, I'm not sure if helmets, body-worn cameras was taken, helmets as well.
Batons.
And batons. So we had quite a few things that was taken, and that gives credibility to that there was a physical encounter that was initiated by some of our protesters out there.
You know?
If necessary, will the NOPD be using rubber bullets in the future, rubber balls, excuse me, in the future?
We are only using as necessary. This is a tool that is needed at some point in time. We have not used this in years, but it is a tool to have if necessary. We don't ever want to have to escalate to using that or tear gas. But at some point in time, we have to restore law and order. We're doing our best to do it through a dialogue first and do it peacefully as best as possible.
And how rarely are they used?
The situation would dictate when and if they would be used.
ESU?
Yeah, regardless of the strength of the projectiles that were used, we heard from the ACLU of Louisiana, we heard from Tulane's First Amendment Law Clinic, we've heard from people who say the bigger problem is that they were used without permission, as you said yesterday.
Yes.
What can you say as far as that goes and the effort that's being put into finding out and holding accountable officers who didn't follow proper protocols? Officers that you say you've identified so far, but that are still working their details now.
So what, anytime anyone violate any policy, we're holding them accountable. Just as you, the community, you as a media hold me accountable for our actions of the police department, it is my job and the leaders of this organization to hold our employees responsible and accountable when they violate our policies. So again, that is part of the investigation, and as we get more information, we will be releasing that information to you.
Are the same officers who you have on body camera using the rubber balls without the permission of their commander, are they still continuing to work crowd control or any protests on the streets of
So
New York?
you have the cameras. I'm not sure which camera we're going to show you just yet because we have several cameras out there. So this is a fluid situation to see what this officer did, what that officer did. We're just trying to give you the best information that we can so that you can understand what actually occurred that night. And I understand there were many protesters towards the rear who did not realize that this situation had escalated, and they were peaceful. But you had your agitators in the front that escalated. And unfortunately, this was the result of it. Something that we don't ever want to see happen. Citizens injured as well as officers are injured.
Chapter 4?
Do officers with SOD, do they drill on this regularly, and is there any certification? If so, how often does that happen?
So I'll let Sergeant Morrell speak to that, but I can tell you this. Everything that you're seeing before you, they feel it too, so they can have an understanding as to what a citizen would feel when going through this. You want to talk a little bit about the training?
Yeah, so every SWAT officer goes through what's called a basic SWAT school, which is 4 weeks long. As far as the certification for all of this, each officer has a basic certification in SWAT school, and then you have to do a yearly recertification on every munition you see up here. You don't necessarily have to get shot by the rubber balls every year. A lot of people elect to get shot by the rubber balls. Everybody does get tear gassed, and well, the paint marking round is used for equipment. It's not used for people, so that doesn't come into play. But you know, officers are tased each year. It's in special operations. They're tased each year. They go through everything other than being physically shot with a real round. They go through every system that we have, and it's deployed on them. And it's deployed so that they can see what it feels like, and they can also see the reaction when it's deployed on someone else.
Gentleman right here.
Yeah, so Superintendent, you had mentioned that the reason for setting up a line on the Crescent City connection was a question of safety. So I wanted to ask, what actual danger did it pose letting the protest continue over the bridge and back? And in retrospect, did that danger, you know, outweigh the risks that throwing tear gas into the crowd posed?
I still stand firm on it was safety first. At the end of the day, it's safety. At the beginning of the day, it's safety first. And the concerns that I have is, one, we escorting a large group of people over the bridge, not knowing what everyone's intent is, not knowing, and we heard the chatter with regards to people wanting to go to Jefferson Parish. I think that's immoral, unethical for us to escort a protest to another jurisdiction, one. Another thing is, let's think about our West Bank New Orleanians. If there was an emergency in Algiers, we had no way to respond to it besides the resources that was already there, because ambulance, fire, police department, we cannot get to the West Bank because the bridge was blocked.
There weren't 2 lanes
So-
of traffic open on the parallel bridge?
On what parallel bridge? You talking about the HOV?
Yeah.
It could possibly be so, but still, nevertheless, if you come in, depending on where you're coming from, we have to get off and get down. That delays the response time. So our safety right now is everyone's safety.
So
New
concern
Orleans,
about-
our priority is New Orleans police officer safety as well as New Orleans citizens and visitors.
Ramon? Anything?
One question, following up on one from yesterday. Can you say Chief John Thomas was at the real-time crime center, and in what way that would have helped his vantage point over what was going on the bridge and holding command over everyone?
I mean, no matter where Chief John Thomas was, our captains had control of that scene, and that's where it stands.
Did the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office request to join y'all at the line or offer their help to join y'all at the line?
To my knowledge, no, not to come into Orleans Parish and
And just
assist
to
at a line.
reinforce your line if needed?
We had our line, we were there with us. Troop N, who was housed in the French quarters, was there with us because they're right here in New Orleans. But I'm sure anytime I called Sheriff LaPencil, he would assist, but I did not call him. To my knowledge, we were not contacted to say, hey, we'll come up there if you need us.
Have you identified what led to the miscommunication that happened that night?
Still part of the investigation.
Kimberly?
I have two questions for you, Chief. Number one, the items that were stolen, do you have any concern about those being used in future protests or?
Absolutely. I mean, it was used that night against us. So yes, absolutely, we do have that concern. That's why we're asking, if you have our property, please return it. But again, that adds to the credibility of what we're saying, how this escalated from a peaceful protest to something that it should not have been.
Second, I had a follow-up.
okay, your follow-up?
Yes, follow-up question. Do you have any reaction to calls to defund police departments? What is your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, we as a department are working with the bare minimum right now. We as a city have been doing a phenomenal job investing in youth and family services, education, social workers across the city. So we, I think, as the city of New Orleans, have been leading the way with regards to so defunding is taking or redirecting resources from the police agency to another component. And our council and our mayor have been doing a phenomenal job at doing that. So I would hope that we do not have that occur here, but I understand the outcry across the country.
Superintendent, are you happy with the amount of evidence you have for your investigation? And do you have maybe a grasp of the timeline before you'll really have a good grasp and an understanding and be able to tell us more?
Well, this is still an active investigation, an ongoing investigation, and we still continue to ask if anyone has any further information that can help further this investigation to get it to our fit team. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to follow up on something that Sergeant Morrell said. You said that getting hit with one of the rubber balls was about like getting hit with a tennis ball backhanded.
Not from Serena Williams, though, like a regular person.
The Tulane First Amendment Law Clinic has pictures that they say were given to them from protesters who say they were hit by the rubber bullets and hurt. They show skin broken, bloody. You can see, a very clear mark. Others have bruises. Certainly more serious of a wound than you would ever get from a tennis ball. Can you speak to that conflict?
The only thing I can tell you is I've been shot by these rubber balls, and I had a red mark, but I didn't have anything that was indicative of being shot with. I've been shot with a real gun also, and it was nothing like that. It wasn't that kind of wound. It was a red mark. I've been shot with a paintball round that shoots CO2, and that left a wound that was more indicative of what you saw on TV, in my opinion.
Chief, have you seen those pictures that were sent to them?
I have seen the picture. That is part of the investigation. We have to look into that. I'm sure, we've asked everyone to give us information that you have. And as I said on yesterday, I'm sure we all can agree that we react differently to things. So, our bodies are different. Our skin is different. So we don't know. That is a part of our team's investigation to determine what happened and how did it happen.
Associated Press.
Being that it doesn't look like these demonstrations are going to stop, they're continuing to happen across the country. They may happen again here in New Orleans. Are you at all rethinking any use of your tactics or these munitions, or do you feel like this is the best way to handle crowds like this moving forward?
So this is part of the best practices across the country, but our first weapon is our voice, a dialogue. That has been our success and key to our success thus far for those willing to cooperate, and we're going to continue with that same strategy. I don't see any reason to change at this point in time.
Last question.
I have a point of clarification. What are those called that shoot out the rubber bullets, and how many officers had those on that front line? You said there were 2 rounds, so I'm curious if there were 2 different launchers or whatever the gun-looking thing that propels the rubber.
It's called a launcher.
Okay.
So what I'm going to say is, part of the investigation to determine who and how many officers had a launcher. We're not sure if it's on the front line, but there's a second line that our officers were on as well. Let me be clear with this. Everything that you see before you, only Special Operations Division officers are authorized to use this. That front line consisted of our patrol officers. Special operations was their backup in the event they broke that line.
So do those special operations carry that with them just in case they get the order, or they have to go and
It
get it?
depends. It depends on what is going on, what the situation is at that time.
All right, folks, that's last.
And just a
we're
quick
gonna-
Okay.
We're coming out tomorrow with more
All right.
stuff. I'm gonna let this ride right now.
I'm good. Yep. So
Okay.
thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're welcome. Please take a flyer from each one to describe to you what it's about, especially to show that it is not